Hi everyone, Charles Vamadeva here again with another episode of Real Estate Sizzle Talk, and I'm here today with two special guests, Kris McCullough from Kim Steele and Associates, and Jed Bratt from Big Block Realty in San Diego. And we're a hot topic today, which is myths about VA loans affecting sellers and buyers. And these guys are well qualified to talk about this because they both were in the armed forces. And Kris, what were you doing in the Marine Corps?
I was in the Marine Corps. I did retired 20 years, and I was in communications.
Awesome. And Jet was in the Navy. What were you doing?
Did 8 years, pretty much communications as well, navigation systems as well.
Awesome. So these guys know what they're talking about. And my first question is to you. VA buyer, no down payment. Well, usually not putting any money down. They can. Maybe very minimal earnest deposit, right? $500, $1,000 sometimes. All of their closing costs are maybe paid for by the seller or the lender. Is that a weak buyer?
Charles, you got to look at everything compared to the relative to the actual situation, the actual borrower. It doesn't matter if you got a conventional loan, FHA loan, VA loan. What's the motivation? What's the actual qualifications of that specific borrower? All too often, people just get caught up on the title of a loan, VA loan, conventional loan, whatever, cash buyer. Even cash buyers break out of deals all the time. I've had cash buyers back out of deals, last minute, and they find a loophole for not claiming their EMD. So you got to look at everything specific to the. Sorry, you're gonna have to look at everything specific to the actual borrower and the situation.
Transaction, right? So it's not automatically a weak buyer just because they're borrowing 100%.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
What's the seller's perception regarding a VA buyer coming in? Be honest. What do a lot of sellers think?
Even though it's not a weak buyer, the perception, and we have it all the time. A majority of our business are listings, and a lot of people will say, we don't want a VA buyer because the perception is they don't have any money. So if they don't have any money, they can't close. That's a perception. The other perception is, well, even if they give me a full price offer, I'm going to have to pay the closing costs and I'm going to lose money. It's not as competitive as a conventional or a cash deal. Those are probably two of the major perceptions that are out there. And also, I think the very last one is when it comes to appraisals or the inspections. A lot of sellers deeply believe that it's just going to destroy the whole deal, blow it up.
And we all know, being in the business, that that's not true.
That's not true.
Okay,
so it can be.
It can
sometimes,
be sometimes.
But I will tell you, we do a lot of VA deals, and the odds of that happening are very rare. In fact, if it's an educated buyer's agent, especially if it's us, we're going to either talk to the lender or even talk to our client and adjust based off of what needs to happen in order to close that deal. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's a deal-by-deal basis.
How do you counter that? When you're dealing with, and I've heard you on the phone with agent, how do you counter that misconception on the listing agent side, which is going to filter back down to the seller?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, you talked about the inspection. One thing that's a misconception is that there's a VA appraisal and there's a VA inspection. There's not a VA appraisal. The bottom line in the VA guidelines is a property has to be livable, safe, and sanitary. Those are the minimum property requirements. That's what they're looking for for the property condition. As far as appraisal goes, sure, of course, if a property comes in low, as with a conventional loan, as with an FHA loan, most likely there's going to be some renegotiation wanted by the borrower. Just because somebody has, and this is another thing, just because somebody has an extra $50,000 in the bank account, just because they're putting $80,000 down, doesn't mean they're going to just shrug their shoulders at eating up another $20,000 in appraisal difference. And so everybody assumes that that's the case. There's plenty of VA buyers with 100% financing. I have several that have $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 cash in the bank, especially when they're doing move-ups.
Good point.
And they're strong, they're in the 700s credit score. It's actually probably a more desirable loan in that sort of situation than a conventional loan or an FHA loan, quite honestly.
Do you guys feel like, because you've served, you've been VA buyers yourselves, do you guys feel a sense of added responsibility to educate the listing agent community or the seller's community, kind of bridge that gap between that military buyer and agents that are misinformed? Maybe?
Absolutely. I know we go out of our way to definitely work with, whether it's listing agents, but I think the big one is I feel a sense of responsibility whenever we have a buyer, and whether they're former or active, that I want. That's another way for us to give back. And honestly, I think the hardest part is going to be working with the seller's agent, the listing agent, and we go out of our way to really educate them, because that's the key, I think, right now.
Yeah, it is, huh?
Is it's not so much that the sellers are uneducated, because as we know, most people that are buying or selling homes, they do it so infrequently that they don't know what they don't know. But we as a community, we as agents, licensed individuals that do this regularly, we're the ones that are uneducated about the VA loan. And that's where I think a lot of the sticking points are.
So the burden's on you.
Absolutely.
And on us. Now, I have my own little comments to make about the following question, if I may, as a lender. But what are some of the advantages to a seller in taking a VA buyer's offer over conventional or FHA, or even maybe a cash offer that may fall apart? What are some of the advantages?
Well, and again, I hate to be over disclosing, but I mean, it comes down to this specific borrower.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I would look at is motivation. I mean, so if the buyer is motivated and you have a semi-motivated conventional buyer, you know that if there's a few hiccups along the way, or if even the DTI is rather tight, there's some flexibility, right? You're going to run that through DU. If it comes back at 60%, it's okay.
Yeah.
Conventionally, there's not a whole lot of flexibility. So if they go and do anything, if anything gets skew on their end, things could fall apart. Secondly, I mean, it's an opportunity for a seller to give back to, like he was saying, it's important for us to educate people on this so you can give back, but it's an opportunity to give back on a loan program that, although it is excellent for the borrowers, the people actually getting the loan, it's a darn good loan, and it closes most of the time. And as Kris said, he rarely sees any of his that don't even close.
Any advantages to the seller? I mean, you do a lot of listings. What's the advantage
of the seller? When we talk to a seller, and especially at specific price points, and the way we put it to them, it's so rare. Once somebody's qualified for the VA loan, and especially if they're working with a good VA lender, it's so rare that they're actually going to fall out or the deal is going to fall apart, because really the knowns are known.
Yeah.
And you don't really always get that with a cash deal, especially not a cash deal or a conventional deal, because cash deals are still kind of Wild West if you want them to be.
Yeah.
So to me, the way we educate it is, if they're coming in, let's say it's a full price offer on a competitive house, and maybe above full price by a little bit in order to cover closing costs, or the lender's going to cover it, we know that we have a good quality, probably the best quality borrower that's out there, and that's why we love supporting them.
It's awesome. I want to throw in my 2 cents worth there in talking about VA buyers being an advantage to the seller. An FHA appraisal, the appraiser is not going to typically warn you, hey, I got a value problem here. Can you help me out? A conventional appraiser is not going to do that. But with VA, there's a set rule, right? Tidewater initiative. The appraiser is going to invoke Tidewater and alert you, hey, Mr. McCullough, we got a problem here. You need to give me some more information or data to support this value, and then you've got 2 business days to get that. I think that's a huge benefit to your seller, right? You have the choice of saying, hey, listen, we're going to put a stop to this deal. We're not going to go any further. We're going to take that backup offer, or come out all guns a-blazing with all your comparables. Is that not an advantage to the seller?
It's a huge advantage. We're dealing with that right now. We have a buyer. It just came back, the appraisal, conventional, and it's $100,000 under its value. And here's the thing. It's the appraiser's fault. It actually is the appraiser's fault. I mean, the comps are available. We didn't get an opportunity. Now we're trying to fight for our buyer.
Oh my goodness.
And also the listing agents trying to fight for their seller. And it's just it was a bad situation. Didn't even give us an opportunity.
Whereas you would have gotten an alert with VA.
That's right.
You mentioned a good point. Debt to income ratio is 60%. You'll never see that on a conventional.
Nope.
Fannie Freddie, it's not going to happen. They just recently upped it to 50. With VAs, we've seen them all the way up into the 70s on a DU get approval. And another advantage with VAs, and if you've got a spouse, the veteran's spouse is not going to go on the loan, we get to count that spouse's income to offset the spouse's debt. Right, whereas FHA you can't do that. So there's definitely some advantages.
On our last house.
Yeah. So any last words in closing here? You guys give some good content. Any last bits of insight here before we wrap it up?
Geez.
I do.
Yeah.
Get educated. I mean, as real estate agents, it's our responsibility to absolutely immerse ourselves and become the true professionals. And whenever I hear topics like this, or I see some of the other, what I would consider, these are our pillars of our business. Educate yourself.
Yeah.
If somebody's watching this right now, if you're watching this and you're questioning, well, I don't know, you need to talk to somebody. Call Charles. Call anybody. Call somebody.
Absolutely.
Jump online, look for it. But yeah, I think that's our biggest issue right now as a community as real estate agents. They're so undereducated in specific areas that they can't educate their clients. And their client should know, and the client doesn't know.
Sadly, the end result of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is the military buyers get treated differently or unfairly or put to the back of the line because there's that fear element, right?
Absolutely.
They don't want to accept something they're not familiar with. And they're like, well, we're looking behind that VA offer? So
Yeah, it's almost like they're immediately put out.
yeah. Good content, guys. Thank you so much. If somebody's watching this and wants to, get some help in either, representing them in selling a home or buying a home, how do they get a hold of you, Kris?
Kim Steele and Associates, you can type in Kim Steele and Associates. You can type in the Real Estate Blitz as well. That's going to take you to our pages on Facebook, also online. If you're in Temecula, it's search TemeculaRealEstate.com. And if you're in San Diego, it's search NorthSanDiegoHomes.com.
Awesome. And Jed, how do they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of us. You can YouTube us at The Real Estate Jedi. You can go to TheRealEstateJedi.com, Google Real Estate Jedi, or just give us a call at 619-750-2751.
Awesome. I like that. RealEstateJedi.com is awesome. Guys, thanks for watching another episode of Real Estate Sizzle Talk. I'm Charles Vamadeva, and we'll see you on the next one.